Okay, sir. So good morning, one and all. My name is Akash Mahajan, and today I'm going to introduce you with the inventory management system, which is built upon the Java, and we have deployed it to the Docker and the Kubernetes. Now let's start with the team members and the institute details. There are 5 team members, including me, Rishikesh Mhetre, Aditya, Shubham, and Sanket. The team name is OTF RBIT, and we are from RajaramBapu Institute of Technology, Sakrari, which resides under Sangli, Maharashtra. Now, let's me introduce to the project. What is the inventory? As you can see, I have explained over here is that in real world, inventory is a place where all goods brought from manufacturer or dealer are kept for retailing purpose in the warehouse. So there, the traditional warehouses uses the paper-based records to keep the track of goods, which is not essentially the most preferred way today. A lot of industries, a lot of people prefer now computerized records, which is now an optimal solution to store the records. If the paper can be lost and torn and can be destroyed by anyone, it is in threat to the business. So to avoid it, we can take the inventory management system to a computer. Now we have developed the inventory management system, which is now at the essentially a command line interface application designed in the Java. And there are 2 major roles, including a user and an admin. Specifically talking, a user is a general person who can buy products, view products, list and request bill, whereas admin is a special person who can manage the list of products, view products and manage the stock. The database operations are internal, therefore there is no chance of the security failure and no chance of getting the data deleted, as there is no direct access to the database from the user or either from admin. Now let's talk briefly about the high level system design. Now there are 3 basic components, including a database, a JDK and the program and the user interface. The database component include the mySQL database, which is running on my local computer, the Java JDBC driver, which is required to connect the Java program to the MySQL database wherever it resides. And the JDK and the program component includes the JDK, JVM, and JRE, which are essential to run any Java program, including inventory.class, which is essentially the entry point of the application, the user.class, which provides an application interface to the regular user to buy, view the list of products. The admin class, which is provides the role functionality to the admin. The common class is something which includes abstract class, where user and admin have the same functionality, is included into common class. And the link list, which is used during the runtime of the application to store the brought products into the memory. And the last one is the user interface, which is running on a Linux computer and in a Linux terminal, which is the command line interface. And here is the user who is accessing that with the help of the inventory entry point. Now, how the database is designed. It's specified by the ER model. There are 2 basically relations, means tables, are available, which is user and the inventory. The user has 2 attributes like user ID and user password, which are stored in the database. And the inventory is the product ID, product name, product price, product AV, which is product availability. The inventory table is used to store the list of products, their prices, name, and their availability in the inventory. And the user table is used to store the information regarding a user. They are connected by a strong relation like manages or buy from, because the user either manages or buy from the inventory as specified by the user and the admin roles. Now let me discuss about the modules as I previously explained in the high level design, like linked list storing the data during runtime on memory, common, these are generally the APIs used by the application. Common is generalizing common methods of admin and user module. Admin creating an interface for administrator role. User creating an interface for naive user role. Inventory user interface to perform admin level and user level operations. Now, what technology platform we have used and how the configuration is required. Now, the hardware required is either a desktop or laptop with with a minimum of 2 GB RAM and either 1 GB of available disk space on the computer. The software required is the Windows, Linux, or Mac operating system. The MySQL database, absolutely. The JDK, Java Development Kit, and the JRE. And if you want to access the database or manage the database with a GUI feature, then you must install the XAMPP, LAMP, or WAMP on your computer. And lastly, the JDBC database drivers, which are a communication link between the application and the MySQL database. I want to conclude as with the help of the Oracle or the Java technology like database and Java platforms, we can implement a fully functional inventory management system. Such kind of applications can be run on containers of Docker and used on the Kubernetes platform. What we are looking forward to developing that application in the future work is that we can integrate the GUI features in the following increment of software. And we can also simplify the database interactions through Java application. The web application interface can be implemented with the help of RESTful calls in the sense of Spring Boot application. What did we learn from this hackathon and what we are thinking about taking the topics to explore further? We learned about the Kubernetes, which is a very essential a new world to me. The Docker, which is required to containerize my application. Containerizing an application, which is essentially a process inside the Docker. Working of a cloud software, how a cloud software works, like the Kubernetes is running on the AWS or either on Google Cloud. The Docker Hub and GitHub, because we have hosted our code and the containers on the Docker Hub and GitHub. The artful use of Linux terminal and the Linux file system, because all this is going inside the my Linux computer. Therefore, I learned how to use the Linux terminal and the Linux file system. Now we have a GitHub handle of that code as a resource to our project. Thank you.
Okay, so do you have any more than this?
Yes, sir. I got the demo for that.
Yeah, go ahead. Show the demo then.
Okay, sir. Sir, is the screen visible?
Yes.
Yeah. So what I will do is I will first run the Docker container into my terminal. Now, first, what I have to do is I have to start the built-in MySQL service on my computer by running the sudo service MySQL and its parameter like start. Now it has started. Now I have previously created a container for the MySQL server, which is named by the DB server. I want to start it before I can actually run the application using the Docker start DB server, which is actually the database server of the MySQL. It takes a little bit of time. Yeah. And now, because these two containers are isolated in the Docker, I must link them together before I can run them with the help of Docker run -it, which is interactive process. And the name of that application is my app. I want to link the DB server with my inventory app. Yeah, this is the name of my container inventory-app :1.2 is the name of the container where my Java program is stored. I'm sorry, the my app container is actually used by somebody. Now I will give it as my app 1. It takes time because the database server is activated once this command is run, and later the JDK and JVM are activated. So it takes around 1 minute to start. I'm sorry, what's happening?
So it timed out basically. So maybe the old one which you ran has something.
No, sir, I have tested before. I can run it over here,
So you do
but no,
PS
I don't.
minus here, check whether the DB server is running.
Yeah, yeah, it is actually running in the background.
Okay, so if it is running in the background, what port you are
Uh,
connecting?
Let me first. What is do is I will stop that my app and would remove that,
Yeah.
and we'll use the previous name to start it. I don't know why it is giving me
No,
the
no
error.
problem. No. So what is happening is it says error 9, right? So basically it's a
Yeah,
timing out, and timing out can happen if the port is already logged, you know. You do SS minus
uh,
SS, just say SS minus L. SS, just say SS. And grep, no, SS minus, yeah, SS. No, no, not grep means the pipe. Port number,
sorry.
which port you are running on?
It's running. The database is running on.
Start the container.
Okay.
Okay.
The container is stopped.
Which one, my app? Oh, that inventory app. So how do you start
Okay.
that? Docker?
Docker start container.
Docker start and container name, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Go ahead, Docker start the container. Docker start and your inventory, whatever. Yeah. There are no
It
such.
says no. There were. It is present over here.
Yeah.
Inventory app, but I don't know why it is like. I have tested before. I can join the meeting because
No, no,
I
no
was worried
problem.
about it.
No, no problem. Don't worry. So you do have inventory app. That is what you wanted to start. So it's 1.2 tag. So if you start the application, it should work, right? It's not running.
Yeah,
That's
it should.
so. What can be the reason? Sudo service MySQL stop. Maybe you require sudo docker. I don't know.
If it is a sudo docker, then it would have said me that you are not allowed to execute.
Oh, okay. Root is not allowed MySQL access. Okay, that's
Yeah.
correct.
Let me try it once again.
Mhm. It says daemon conflict error response. BD60, which is the BD60? I don't see here with you in the list.
I don't know why it is not running because it had just run
No, see, what he's saying is
before.
my app is running, right? My app is run by somebody else. So you kill that kill minus 9 that is on BD60, right? Docker
Uh, this,
Docker stop or Docker kill that BD DB6C05. Docker stop or Docker.
uh, I'm in the wrong directory actually. I'm
Mhm.
sorry.
Okay, that's interesting.
No, it says an error.
Okay, no problem. What we'll do is you can debug offline later. Just explain the code to us.
Which,
Just go ahead and explain the
uh,
code. Don't worry about the run. Run, you'll have to debug, and
uh,
we don't know exactly what the situation is on your machine. Just go through the code. what code you
Okay,
have,
sir.
just go through one of the code, especially more on the uh, this is Kubernetes code, or is it
No,
Docker code?
that is Docker code which I
Okay.
have used to execute the
So YAML file,
Java.
that YAML file describe whatever you describe the YAML file, just go through that once.
Okay.
We need to know what exactly you are doing in your Docker file. So Docker file, right? Whatever the Docker file is there.
Okay. So I will share the Docker file. Okay.
Mhm. Yeah, that's important. Yeah. Tell us what is there in this.
Here is the Docker file. What is actually this Docker file is designed for that Java application. It uses the OpenJDK image available on the Docker Hub, and it
Mhm.
copies the every content available in this working directory. Let's say this directory is the current directory.
Mhm.
It copies all that Java code into
Mhm.
the this backslash directory, means in the basic home directory,
Mhm.
and set that directory as a working directory. Now it changed to the working directory to the home directory, and now it run all this Java C command because I need to compile them before I can execute the command.
Mhm.
And after that, the CMD is used where the Java command uses the class path like MySQL connector, because with the Java has no any built-in connection drivers to provide with the MySQL server. That's why I need to use the external MySQL connector jar file
Mhm.
with the command, and after that I have to execute the entry point class file.
Mhm. So the
Uh,
entry point to the class file is the inventory.java, where it has got all the entry point. Okay.
yeah,
So there it executes, and then you connect the SQL. So the session is created. And once the
yeah,
session is created between the MySQL, then you have your queries running into the inventory and getting all the information that you need from the. Okay, fantastic.
yeah.
So I think that should give us a good idea. And are there any specialized things that you need to do for Java containerization other than the Java libraries, what you have mentioned here?
No, I didn't need, because that Docker has also provided me built-in features like that. It can automatically detect what is it is doing in the Docker file, and it
Mhm.
automatically runs that Docker file. So I didn't need anything. I hadn't need anything to run separately for the Java program. But I also wanted. I also need to install the Java on my local machine because
Mhm.
of only of that, and also let me show you it.
So you had to install OpenJDK on your host.
Yeah, yeah. It here it is the OpenJDK image. I need to install it on my Docker,
Mm.
because without that it can't understand the OpenJDK. What is it OpenJDK?
Mhm.
Because every time if I try to run the Docker file, it will check for the Docker hub for the image, which is too lengthy process. It will download the OpenJDK from that server. Instead,
Mhm.
what I did is I downloaded the OpenJDK image separately and installed it on the Docker, so that it will save my time after later after using the Docker file.
Okay, good. That's good. So let me ask, is there anybody wanting to ask any question? And
So
what about
I also
Mhm. Yeah.
tried to deploy the SQL database onto
Mhm.
the Kubernetes, but there is something problem occurring continuously. I was trying from 2 to 3 days, but the problem is not resolving. What is happening? Something like problem on my host, maybe.
Mhm.
That's why it doesn't allowing me to run that SQL database. Yeah. However, it should have run, but don't know why it is not running. I also had written the um, YAML files correctly with
Mhm.
the proper image name and the name of that image and the SQL root password, but
Can you
don't
go a
know why.
little bit kind deployment? So see, whenever you have a database, okay, you don't go with the kind deployment. You go with the kind stateful set.
Stateful set.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
So
So,
stateful set are basically for databases or maintaining the state of the uh, object what you are deploying. So we need to maintain the state of databases 90% of the time. So that is the thing. And again, if you know you have deployed or given the kind service, okay, so the service what it does is it will randomly point out to one particular pod. Okay, so in case of web servers and all, it's okay that your one pod is serving on one particular port and service point out to that pod and it will get the request. But in databases and all, as it is the data is distributed in all the replicas. Okay, so for example, if you have two replicas of stateful set, so that you have two pods of MySQL, the data can be in one pod or the other pod. It will be distributed. So it requires different kind of handling and all. Maybe a headless service or something. Just I'm giving you the topics or the points that you can look forward. Okay, just look forward for headless service, stateful sets. Okay, for databases.
Yeah, sir, absolutely.
Yeah.
so
Also,
it's a design issue. How to partition, how to make sure that your persistence is maintained for the objects you have. So service alone will not do, deployment may not do. You have to do stateful set. And also, if it is across multiple nodes, multiple parts, how much of replication you are giving, all that is a design time issue. So if you design rightly, it will work.
okay, sir. Also, I have hosted that entry app code on the GitHub that I
Mhm.
wanted to share at the last.
Mhm.
Here is the all the code,
Mhm.
and the README file includes the description of the team and the
Mhm.
description of the application itself.
Mhm. Anybody, any questions? And what about your team members? Do they want to say something? What problems they faced?
Yeah, so they're having the IoT workshop today by organized by the college. That's why they're not able
Okay,
to attend it.
so no problem. So we will end the call here for you. Just before I'll stop the recording here for you. Thank you very much, Akash and Rishikesh and other people.